Garry Nolan gets woo. This is awesome. This is a great segment from a really terrific interview he did with UAP Studies podcast. So let's talk about some of the fascinating things that he says, including how people whose brains are different from others, and this is part of his ongoing research, is that experiencers have different brains than normal people. There's a part of their brain that is structured differently in experiencers and remote viewers. And this has to do with intuition. It also has to do with how beings, higher beings, alien beings are able to communicate with them. And he actually describes this communication process. This is amazing. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like. Please subscribe, smash that bell to be notified of future videos. Join me on social media. There are Facebook and Twitter links below. I'd love to see you there. And please comment on the story as I'm going through it. Now, this is a terrific interview with UAP Studies podcast that Garry Nolan did. And I am, tempted to break it up into several different videos because there's so much to go over. But several items that really leapt out at me in this interview. One, that remote viewers have even a greater difference in their brain structure than high-functioning individuals, which was interesting. And that he doesn't know if the difference in the brain structure is caused by exposure to the phenomenon or something else. He seems to think that maybe it's they were that way all along, but maybe their brain structures allowed them to have this exposure. I will add the wrinkle that it's really impossible to say because experiencers tend to be generational. If you're an abductee or a contactee, you will have been an abductee or contactee since you were a child. Typically, not always, but typically that's the case. And one or more of your parents will be an abductee or contactee, one or more of their parents, and so on. The beings are tweaking people over generations for some purpose. Possibly that purpose is to have a greater connection to spirit or to them, to the higher dimensions, whatever they are. We don't quite understand what we're dealing with here, but a lot of these beings and forces seem to come from somewhere else outside of our 3D reality. Whitley Strieber calls them fissures in the stream of time, meaning they are coming from outside of space and time. The famous quantum computer guru Deep Prasad, who is a contactee, says that when he is taken, it is like being taken to a deeper level of reality. I just did a piece on the Arcturians and how people who are able to communicate with the Arcturians, these higher dimensional beings that are benevolent and are trying to help people, well, they get these flashes, right? And they get these downloads. How does that work? Well, Garry Nolan is about to describe how that process might actually work. Here goes.
Life if you do it wrong.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, not the consciousness of it, but you were talking about looking at the brain and this basal ganglia. Just quickly, because you were mentioning about opening different areas, would the telepathic communication between these entities and humans have something to do with those?
Well, that's where intuition is a flash of insight. And the insights that different people get are either visual or auditory or emotional. And so whatever these insights are, whether they're coming from outside the brain or the Akashic field, as some people would like to think, or transmitted from another place, somehow these ideas come fully formed as pictures. People who do remote viewing, and I did a remote viewing once, only once, with this guy, Ed May, who's a specialist in it. And, you get these flashes, and it's like, okay, how did I get a flash of something like that, where I get the complete image? So it's overlaying onto probably pre-existing hardware. is the way to think about it. And if your hardware happens to be, if you're a visual person, or if you're a listening person, or you have other, you olfactory or what have you, the information can come in through multiple channels, but it's somehow coming in almost fully formed. So I think that that's where, if you want to imagine that consciousness is something separate from the brain, that the information must be coming prepackaged, hitting the consciousness, but then is relayed onto the brain, and then manifested and understood in the brain that way. But it's still coming as a package of information, not this kind of linear Morse code, which is then decoded. It's coming as like a gestalt of information. So I don't understand how that happens at all, and I'm not saying that it's woo or anything like that, but it clearly comes and it's either coming from your unconscious and then reaches up and impacts as a gestaltic picture, or it's coming from outside in the same way. I'm interested in both.
That is pretty woo, Gary, but I love it. I mean, he even goes into the Akashic records. That's awesome. He does it grudgingly, but he does go there. Does this mean mainstream science will begin embracing the woo? Are more scientists, credible scientists, going to come out publicly talking about things like the Akashic records and downloads from higher beings? This could be groundbreaking. This could be a milestone in not just ufology, but our understanding of the phenomenon and what we are dealing with, not just in the UFO community, but across the world. I just love this interview so much, and I love Garry Nolan's evolving understanding of the phenomenon and willingness to talk about the more esoteric aspects of it, because so much of it does seem to be consciousness-based. What does that mean? Well, Garry Nolan is attempting to find out. Hopefully he will serve as a guide for people like Eric Weinstein, who are more nuts and bolts still and more skeptical of the weirder aspects of it all. To be fair, I think Garry is too, but he is very open-minded and is willing to pursue the research that answers some of these questions. That takes a lot of guts, and I really admire that. Garry also had this to say, and this is amazing. Check this out.
And it's more fascinating because there's a person I know here in Silicon Valley who's doing transcranial stimulation with sound waves. And one of the things that we're going to try is basically seeing if we can twiddle this area of the brain and cause people to think differently. So wow. I think that might be different. I know that he was able to do this with high functioning meditators, and they were able to achieve the meditative state that took them 11 years to do just by him flipping the switch. And that's fascinating, right? So there's not something you can just you can do, because everybody's brain is a little bit different. So you have to map it first, and then you want to twiddle the right areas, and right. You don't want to twiddle the foot fetish side of things.
All of a sudden, I have a
all
foot
of a sudden
fetish.
It's like, whoa, that feels good.
Screw the guy up for life if you do it wrong.
Yeah.
I have got to get in on that. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I've been struggling with meditation. They say you should do it every day, and I have really lapsed on that. I'll be quite honest. I've been trying to get into all of this since I've experienced the metaphysical and had experiences. I've been, really, my ambition is to do meditation every day and to really elevate my consciousness and tap into all that stuff. And hopefully that will help me in my own journey toward all of this, understanding or in contact. But it would help so much if I could get access to what Garry Nolan is describing. If you could skip 11 years of meditation practice, man, I am all over that. Let's make that happen. Let's make that widely available. Just, twiddle my brain or what have you. And let's make this a thing. Let's do this, Garry. I will sign up for this. You want to experiment on me? I've got a brain, and it is what it is, but I am willing to let you hook your electrodes up to it and to skip 11 years of meditation. Let's do this thing. Thank you, Garry. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Please give this video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Smash that subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I'd love to see you there. And please check out some of my other videos. Until next time, this is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.